What was agreed at COP26 was on climate finance, where richer nations agreed to provide $100 billion per year to help fund emissions reduction in poor nations by 2023. However, the biggest source of tension at COP27 was the failure of developed countries to keep their promises. According to Sam Cheptoris, the Minister of Water and Environment, their hands are tied up due to lack of funds to mitigate the effects of climate change until developed countries come to their rescue.
So we cannot do much unless the developed world fulfills that pledge of $100 billion per year.
The Right Honourable Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga, the first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for East African Affairs, says that they were able to convince the government to restore the National Environmental Fund that had diminished as a starting point while they are waiting for the developed countries to fulfill their promises.
Able to convince government to reinstate the National Environment Fund. You know, it had been taken away, but you're going to insert it. We think that it will help us, to help this ministry to have something to start with. Because as we wait for the loss and damage fund, we should be able to do some things for ourselves.
Financing is not only about somebody giving more money, it's also about, even here where we have banks, for example, can we negotiate with the banks when we have a project that is promoting climate change? Can you get a very reduced interest rate, for example? That is a financing instrument we can look into. And so there are different ways of looking at some of these things. But beyond financing, I think what is important is that sometimes you can have the money, but what is important is that what are we doing ourselves? Whilst climate change is of a global nature, the impacts are local as well. So how we also organize ourselves locally, how we work with local communities to make sure we prepare them for the impacts of climate change also becomes important.
Margaret Athieno Mwebesa, the Commissioner of Climate Change at the Ministry of Water and Environment, stated at the Uganda National Climate Forum, which convened to reflect the COP27 outcomes intended to address the impacts of climate change, that while at COP27, they finalized on supporting carbon trading as a way of reducing emissions.
Carbon trading is one of the ways that the countries can cooperate to reduce on their emissions. So it is a very important area, and for us as a country, we are taking it very seriously. And we should all know that carbon credits are actually tradable. It is actually money that we can do, if we do it well, can bring a lot of revenue to the country.
Because carbon pricing is very important, and because you produce carbon at a cost. You don't just say my trees are there. Somebody made efforts to make sure that those trees are there, and therefore how do you make sure that you get the right pricing for the investment that you have made?
Officials from Uganda who attended COP27 revealed that they emphasized the need to have climate finance delivered to poor countries as grants, not as loans. Success at COP27 ultimately rests on the ability to get money flowing from the wealthy countries to those most in need, at the pace and scale required to match the climate crisis. Bedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.